1999, Morpheus offered Neo a choice between a red pill and a blue pill. In 2018, this country fractured between red and blue. In 2022, I'm here to tell you that if you really want the truth, more voters are neither red or blue. Yet, they have no representation, no choice, and no options. They have to choose between candidates chosen by the red people or the blue people. I'm David Esrati, and I'm running for Congress as an American, as in red, white, and blue. I'm a veteran, an activist, and a small businessman. I'm asking you to join me in reminding the professional politicians in Congress who their bosses are. I support ranked choice voting, campaign finance reform, and a verified voter information system, all so we can stop having the best politicians money can buy. It's time to elect a veteran who will work for you, no matter what color they want to label you. Please go to electesrati.com and learn more. I'm David Esrati, and I approve this message. Jurassic Park, you thought those little baby dinosaurs were cute until they turned into out-of-control carnivores. That's sort of what happens to government when we elect people based on very expensive advertising campaigns and propaganda. I'm David Esrati. I'm a veteran and a small businessman running for Congress. You don't want professional ad people and pollsters to sway your vote. All those hot-button issues like gun control, abortion, borders are all politicized to stop you from voting rationally. And thinking rationally seems to be in short supply these days. Most Americans have been voting against their own best self-interest for a long time because we've allowed money to buy our leaders. 1 million Americans died in the last 2 years because our leaders couldn't lead. It wasn't that hard. Mask, distance, test, and then vaccinate. In an instant, we had billions to spend on healthcare for COVID, when for years we've been told we can't provide healthcare for everyone equally in this country. That's an unintended consequence of the pandemic. If you think about it, our government can pretty much do whatever it wants, or what the people who buy our politicians tell our leaders to do. We also had a ton of money to prop up businesses. The next thing you know, it turns out that a living wage was not only possible, but necessary. As a small businessman who won't sell you out to corporate interests and lobbyists, I can tell you that it's time to fully understand the consequences of companies like Amazon, Facebook, and Google and their effect on small business, and to remind you that small business is the #1 creator of jobs in this country. So this next election, don't trust this ad or any other political ad. Do your homework and think before you vote. It's time to put this ad man in Congress because I know that the best advertising is based on the truth, not the size of the budget or payola. Or you can just vote based on who has the money to buy their way into Congress and live with the consequences. I'm David Esrati, and I approve this message. Hi, I'm David Esrati. I'm running for Congress, OH-10, that's all of Montgomery County, all Greene County, parts of Clark. I just got done talking to Josh Swigert from the Dayton Daily News. Follow up on the first interview. They'll eventually write something about this race. We'll see what he has to say. The questions they ask aren't as deep as what they used to be, that's for sure. But that's not the subject for today. The subject for today is Ukraine and what to do with Putin's threats of using tactical nuclear weapons. Well, the only reason he can get away with it is because after the Soviet Union disintegrated in 1991, Ukraine became the third most powerful, largest nuclear force in the world behind the United States and Russia. China wasn't even there yet. And they made the decision to denuclearize in a 1994 agreement known as the Budapest Memorandum that was between the Russian Federation, the United Kingdom the Northern Ireland, and the U.S., where everybody said that nobody would use nukes against the territory. The Russians sort of, they're squirming a bit on whether they really signed it or not, but either or, all the weapons were turned into fuel for nuclear power plants, and Ukraine has no more nuclear weapons. Had they kept their nuclear weapons, Vlad wouldn't be so brave and bold. But where does that put us right now? And quite frankly, it comes down to the same kind of credibility that I try to project from my campaign. If I say I'm going to do something, I do it. I put everything into it. I stand by my word. If I'm wrong, I'll say I'm wrong. But as far as I'm concerned, the United States guaranteed to protect the Ukraine from Russian aggression. And they failed when the Russians went into Crimea. We failed again when the Russians invaded Ukraine this time. We've tried to make up for it by buying our friendship back, by providing them with stockpiles of weapons that we had that they had used. In other words, all the MiGs we had stored that we'd taken control of, whether we took them from the Iraqis or we'd taken them from some other third world country in exchange for selling them F-16s, but we had a stockpile and we handed them over. We've also handed them some pretty high-tech weaponry. Some of it we admit to, some of it we don't. But right now, the question seems to circulate whether they should get the ATACMS, the Long Army Tactical Missile System, which can go 190 miles and drop 375 pounds of explosives with high precision. These can be shot from the existing rocket launchers they have, the HIMARS, and even the older M270s. It would give the Ukrainians the ability to strike Russian forces in Russia. Sort of like the way the Russians are bombing civilians in Ukraine. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. And sometimes force only understands force. And in this case, with Putin, who's a strong man, that is what we failed to do. We failed to say, hey, look, we're going to give them every weapon they want or need and continue to do so until you get the hell out of their country. And if you continue to attack civilians and pretend that you're doing it in reaching military targets, we're going to prove you wrong, and we're going to back them up in paying you back. Because this has to stop. Ukraine is a huge country. It's very important to the entire world. It fed a good portion of it. There is no excuse for continuing this war at this point, other than Putin hasn't been faced with anybody who's willing to stand up to him strongly and say, you got to go, dude. And that's what we need in Congress. It's not about selling weapon systems. It's about selling our credibility on the world stage. It doesn't do us any good to have the most powerful military in the world if we're not going to use it. Now, what we need to do at this point is say, you've had your fun, you've attacked civilians. It's time for you to get the hell back out of the country, or we're going to help the Ukrainians get you out of Ukraine. All Russian soldiers are going to be told, turn your asses and leave, or you're going to get the almighty hell of the United States military coming down on you. We're going to shoot down every one of your planes. We're going to bomb every one of your convoys. We're going to hit all your tanks. We are going to make you miserable. And we'll do it very quickly. And you'll get out. And if Mr. Putin wants to use nuclear weapons, he will go down in history as being the stupidest man ever. Because it will not be tolerated. That's how a country stands by its word to defend its partner. Now you say, well, they weren't part of NATO, right? Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The fact is, That's a country that was a democracy. That's a country that was feeding an awful lot of people. That's a country that voluntarily denuclearized their entire military. They got rid of all their weapons. And they shouldn't have to bear the threat of a pedantic little pissant like Putin coming after them and threatening. I'm pretty sure once we get the message to the Russian troops that they're about to go into war with the United States of America, if they continue to shell civilians, they'll stop. And they'll get rid of Mr. Putin. Because we've already seen a mass exodus from Russia's call-up of soldiers. That is what happens when you're winning the psychological war. When the Russian people know that they're losing, know that they're going to go there to die, know that the Ukrainians are not going to back down, and we dispel these stupid myths of it being some sort of Nazified state, because we know who the aggressors are in this case. That we hit Putin's bridge on his birthday, good deal. Now the question is he going to get the message that it's over? It's got to happen sooner than later. One other thing with this whole agreement, apparently there's a question about translation between Ukrainian and English. One says it's assured, the other says it's guaranteed. You know, I don't like lawyers. I don't like people mincing words. The intent was clear. We are going to make sure that Ukraine is safe. And it's time to do that now. I don't see any questions from anybody. I'd be happy to answer them. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, same channel, different subject. I am going to tell you, we need to raise more money to be competitive. I don't have the 19 billionaires backing me. I need you to go to my site. I need you to sign up as a volunteer. I need you to download the Reach.vote app and start lining up with my campaign and bringing your contacts in and contacting your friends and getting them motivated to vote November 8th. Because it's a lot more than just whether it's me or Mike Turner. It's whether abortion is legal in this country. It's whether we start having responsible gun laws in this country. It's about whether we enforce antitrust in this country. It's about whether we stop holding auctions instead of elections. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm running. And I hope I have your support. And I thank every one of you that tunes in to watch. And by the way, we've got our internet all squared away, super duper-fied now, so we should never have a problem again. It took us a little while. We got a new router that's a super incredible router hooked up to 2 internet services, so that's exciting. And we will be publishing our voter's guide for all voters so that you can get it online. That includes all the people you need to vote for, including the write-ins, so that you know how to be a good voter when it comes time November 8th. You can start early voting tomorrow. My advice is always to wait till the last minute because things change, okay? Sometimes there could be some changes, although this time I don't know what those changes could be. But basically, you vote straight Democrat. You better know who the Democratic judges are in each county. And vote no on issues 1 and issues 2. Both of those are, wild hair Republican things that are going to have bad implications. Although they sound great, they're not. Others are some of the local school levies, tax levies. Most of them are renewals, not increases, except maybe in Trotwood. I've said clearly how I feel about Sinclair Community College. If they want to start taxing Greene County and Warren County and giving them the same rate we pay, I'm fine with it because we could cut our tax bills in half or less if we had the rest of them contributing the way we've had to for Sinclair. That's it. Oh, and I see, and now that's it, how it works. I hope you'll be needing it from Washington for at least 2 years. Well, Bill, I appreciate your comments. I really appreciate each and every one of you that's tuned in and supported me and asked questions and watched. But I need you to spread the word amongst your friends. I need you to do the work, because I can't knock on enough doors to turn this community around. You have to do it by reaching out to the people you know. That's going to be it. I got to go film another part of a commercial for something we're doing with a joint thing with all the candidates, because I believe in organizing Democrats together. I think it can be done. I think we can win elections when we work together. So thank you so much. We'll see you tomorrow.